This last call came in late October a few years back, around 2:40 in the morning. Dispatch toned me out for a 911 hang-up. The caller reported hearing a woman screaming from inside the next-door house. Quiet residential street, single-family homes, decent neighborhood, nothing that generated much police activity. The caller said the screaming had stopped by the time she dialed, but she was sure she heard someone yelling for help. I was about 5 minutes away. When I pulled up, the street was dead silent. Most houses had lights off. A light rain had started, just enough to make pavement shine under streetlights. The house was a 2-story place with a small front porch, no lights on inside that I could see. I parked a few houses down and approached on foot. As I got closer, I noticed the front door was slightly cracked open. That immediately raised my guard. It confirmed some validity to what the woman reported. I radioed dispatch, advised I was on scene with an open door, asked for another unit to start my way. At that time of night, nearest backup was at least 10 minutes out. I stepped onto the porch and listened. Only the light rain hitting the ground. I knocked on the door frame, announced myself. No response. Knocked again louder. With a report of screams and an open door, I had exigent circumstances. I pushed the door open slowly and stepped inside. Nothing stood out. No signs of forced entry, no weird smells. Living room directly ahead. Everything looked normal and neat. No signs of struggle. I moved behind the couch, in corners, moved toward the kitchen. My flashlight beam bounced off clean countertops, a glass in the table with what looked like water still in it. I made a mental note. Someone had been sitting there not long ago. I called out again. "Police department, if anyone is here, make yourself known." My voice sounded too loud in the quiet home. I rarely got nervous on late-night calls, but something about this was creeping me out. I kept expecting someone to answer from upstairs. No one did. I moved down the hallway toward the back of the house. Small bathroom on the right, guest room on the left, both clear. At the end of the hallway, a staircase leading up. As I stepped onto the first stair, I heard a sound from above, a quick, faint shuffle, like a foot dragging across carpet. I stopped and listened. I drew my weapon and continued up slowly, one step at a time, keeping my light aimed ahead. The upstairs hallway had 3 doors, 2 closed, one slightly open at the end. As I reached the top, I heard it again, soft movement from that direction. I announced myself a 3rd time, told whoever was inside to show their hands. No response. I approached the open doorway, pushed it wider with my foot. A bedroom, larger than the one downstairs. The bed was unmade, sheets partially hanging off the bed. A lamp on the nightstand knocked over onto the floor, the first thing that looked wrong. I stepped inside, checked the closet. Empty. Under the bed. Nothing. Window closed and locked. No obvious way in or out. That uncomfortable feeling in my chest grew. Something wasn't adding up. The rest of the upstairs still needed clearing. The second bedroom was a kid's room. Toys on the floor, small dresser, posters on the wall. No one inside. The last door was the bathroom. As I reached for the handle, I noticed something on the carpet outside the door. A dark spot. At first I thought it was a shadow from my flashlight. Then I realized it was wet. I crouched down, touched it with my glove. Blood. Not a huge amount, but enough to form a small pool. My heart rate shot up instantly. I called it out over the radio, asked dispatch to expedite backup. People forget police officers are people too. When we're in these situations, we're just as scared as anyone else. I pushed the bathroom door open, flicked on the light with my elbow. The shower curtain was closed, streaks of blood on the tile floor leading toward the tub. I moved closer, yanked the curtain back. The tub was empty, but more blood near the drain, like someone had been standing there bleeding. I checked everywhere in the bathroom. Nothing. Backup was still minutes out. I was alone in the house with fresh blood and no victim. I did another sweep of the upstairs, slower this time. That's when I heard a faint sound from below, a floorboard creaking under weight, coming from the first floor. I moved back toward the stairs, aimed my light down into darkness. The living room was still dark. I couldn't see movement, but I felt it, that feeling like you're being watched. I descended slowly, trying to control my breathing. When I reached the bottom, I cleared the living room again, the kitchen. Then I noticed something I hadn't before, a door near the refrigerator I'd assumed was a pantry. It was slightly ajar now. I was almost certain it had been closed earlier. I approached, opened it wider.
Not a pantry. A narrow set of stairs leading down into a basement. The light switch was at the top. I flicked it up. Nothing. Either the bulb was out or the power was cut down there. The stairs descended into complete darkness. I radioed again, advising I was going into the basement. No way was I waiting up there with someone possibly moving around below me. I started down. The basement was unfinished. Concrete floors, exposed beams, boxes stacked along one wall. As I stepped off the last stair, I saw a chair in the middle of the room, a metal folding chair, and the floor beneath it, a large pool of blood, bigger than what I'd seen upstairs. The chair had zip ties attached to the armrests. They were cut. I scanned the rest of the basement. That's when my light hit movement in the far corner. A figure bolted behind a stack of boxes. I yelled for them to stop, started moving toward them, but they moved fast, heading toward the back where a small window sat near the ceiling. Glass shattered. By the time I reached that corner, the window was broken. Whoever it was had forced themselves through. The window led to a narrow side yard between houses. I climbed out after them, cutting my hand on glass in the process. Outside, still raining, I could see a dark shape sprinting toward the alley at the end of the block. I chased, but lost them once they turned the corner. Backup arrived minutes later. We set up a perimeter. K9 responded. Detectives came out. We never found the person who ran. The house belonged to a man who lived alone. He wasn't there. We found his wallet upstairs, his phone on the kitchen counter, signs he'd been restrained in that basement chair. The blood matched him, a lot of it, but not enough to confirm he died there. He was never found. The neighbor who called swore she heard a woman screaming. We never identified any female connected to that address. No signs anyone else lived there. I don't know if I interrupted something in progress or walked in after it was already over. If they hadn't made that one mistake, knocking over that stack of boxes in the basement, I might have walked out thinking it was a false alarm. The missing man's case is still technically open. Every once in a while, I drive down that street on patrol. A new family lives there now. I see the kids' bikes in the driveway sometimes. Like I said, it's a normal neighborhood, but sometimes ugly things happen in the most normal neighborhoods. The darkest places aren't always in the woods. Sometimes they're behind the doors we pass every day.